How's it going, guys? Thanks for joining me on my small engine repair channel. Today's project's on this 4-cycle Lawnboy push mower with a Tecumseh engine, and the problem the customer is having with it is he says it is leaking oil. So let's take a look at it and see if we can't figure it out. Alright, so yeah, the customer says this mower leaks oil. These Tecumsehs have a tendency to do that. There's a few sort of normal spots where oil tends to leak out of these Tecumseh engines. The first one is right here by the base of the dipstick. There is a rubber washer in there, gasket, O-ring. That sometimes goes bad and it lets oil out on the deck. You can see it's definitely sort of wet in that area. This is not the area the customer says that the oil was leaking from, but that is one hot spot that I find leaks oil quite a bit. The customer says that the oil was leaking from the back side of the mower here onto this portion of the deck as they were going up a fairly steep hill at the cottage. So we're going to take a look. There is a breather tube that's up and underneath this engine shroud that sometimes goes bad, and it could leak oil from that, especially if you tilt it back. Another main reason is if you overfill the oil on a small engine, it will tend to spit out the excess oil. I have checked this one. It does look like it's a bit overfilled. So you can see there, it's definitely overfilled. Is it overfilled enough to spit it out? Not too sure. Depends, I guess, on how much it was overfilled originally, because this is, remember, after it's already spit out a bunch of oil. So it might have been quite a bit overfilled. So that could be another main issue. You never want to overfill your oil. Couple of other issues potentially is if you rotate the mower the wrong way. You always want to rotate the mower so that the carburetor side is facing up. Okay, so here's your carburetor side. So you would want to tilt this mower up so that the carburetor is to the sky. If you tilt it the other way, there is a chance for oil to come out through the carburetor intake, through the carburetor, out through the air filter. So definitely watch for that. Make sure you are not tilting it the incorrect way. And the last ways typically you're going to see is through the oil seals in the crankshaft. There's an oil seal on the top of the engine and an oil seal at the bottom of the engine. The top one you can't really see at this point, but we will tip this over and see on the underside here if it was leaking oil from the bottom oil seal. This section right in here is that seal, and it is a little bit wet, so it's definitely leaking a little bit. That could be just dripping down. It could be dripping down from the top side of the mower through the area where the mower engine meets the deck. So that doesn't look overly concerning to me. So what we're going to try and do is duplicate this problem. I'm going to start this engine, see if it will start, and then I'm going to tip it up backwards to kind of simulate going up a hill, and we're going to see if we can see any oil coming out of this thing. Alright, that primer, I'm not sure. It sounds like there's something going on in there, but it's hard to tell. Sometimes these primers don't work all that well, these Tecumseh ones. So let's give it a whirl, see what happens. Let's see, we got a choke lever that does nothing. I see. Alright, so it's been running for a few minutes here. I don't see any signs of any oil leak, visible oil leak, that is any worse than when it showed up. I wish they would have just left the oil on the deck, but they obviously cleaned that up. So my guess is one of two things. First of all, they've overfilled the oil and some of it is seeping out through this seal and then also maybe getting pushed out the breather tube. So we're going to check the top end here just to make sure where that breather tube is. We're going to see if it's full of oil. Sometimes those breather tubes develop cracks and then they don't direct the oil where it's supposed to go and it just seeps onto the deck. So we'll look for that. So those are the things I'm thinking here. We're going to readjust the oil level to make sure it's at the proper oil level. So I'm going to put this up on the stand and we'll get into the top end of the motor there and we'll see what we have going on with the breather system. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is take this top shroud off here. Looks like there's 4 1/4-inch bolts there. This one apparently I didn't. Alright, I don't want to lose these bolts. There we go. Alright, this guy comes off and we need to get underneath the shroud here. So you just pull up on this gas tank, kind of let it settle in, and then there's 3/8 and a couple 5/16 on the front. This one might be a little. This is also going to bring the dipstick with it, most likely, unless I take that off as well, because it is connected over here with a another, looks like 1/4-inch or 5/16. But I think I'm going to want to take it off anyways because I want to see the condition of that O-ring. Oh yeah, it's overfilled. It's just dumping out all over the place over here. I should have thought of that first. So we're going to have to clean up this oil that is now going to leak all over. So I'm going to pivot a little bit here. I'm going to actually just remove this 5/16 bolt for the oil dipstick. I'm going to leave that oil dipstick in there until I change out the oil, just so I can see the condition here. And you can definitely see there is oil caked, but this is to be expected, honestly, with these Tecumsehs. Here's the oil breather plug and the tube here, and it runs down the back side, but this is all dry, so I don't think this is fresh stuff. I don't think that has anything to do with it, to be honest, but I'm just curious to know why they think it came out of here. I think it's overfilled and that O-ring is probably no good on the dipstick there. That would be my guess. So I'm going to try and clean some of this off and remove the oil, put in the proper amount of oil, and see if we're going to continue to get the leaking on this particular machine. Alright, so that oil O-ring that I'm talking about is on the bottom of this dipstick. It doesn't look like it's cracked or brittle. To me, this one looks like it's in half decent shape. I mean, they all do leak eventually. And even if they look good, you probably could use to replace it, especially if you see any oil on the deck and that side of the mower. But that's just what I wanted to show you there. Alright, so I got everything kind of cleaned up here. I've put about 500 milliliters, 16 ounces of fresh 10W30 oil in. Obviously took the old stuff out. One other thing I wanted to mention about a possible leak is you could have a crack in the block somewhere, and that would be pretty obvious. You would see, a drip of oil residue kind of coming down from that area. There's also a gasket here between the oil sump and the actual motor of the engine, and sometimes if you follow that all the way around, sometimes you'll see where there might be that spot where this gasket is compromised, but I don't see real evidence of that at this point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and I'm going to let it run. Actually, I'm probably going to cut my grass with this and give it a full test here to see if I can identify where there's any oil that might be coming out. Alright guys, so I just cut my grass with this thing, used it about 20 minutes, and I'm just going to go back around and see if I can see any evidence of any oil leaks here. It looks a little wet here. I don't know if that's residual. Try to look all the way up, further up the block, and see maybe where it could be coming down from. Again, that breather tube is up in this area behind the fuel tank, fuel line there. I don't see any real major concerns there. They said it was leaking onto the back of the deck here. But check this side out. Sometimes just cleaning up and putting this all back together could be potentially useful and fix your problem. I don't see anything leaking back here from the back side. I don't see anything leaking here. So I think honestly this is just a slightly worn gasket or O-ring, and having this overfilled, because as soon as I took this dipstick off, it started gushing out, and the height of the oil should be at or below this. If I were to take this tube off right now with the proper amount of oil in it, it shouldn't leak out. So if it's already filled up past the height of this, then it's 100% trying to keep the oil in with that O-ring. And if it's a little bit worn out on a 25-year-old machine, then there's a good chance that that was the problem there. And the fact that it was back here would be indicative of the fact that they were tilting this up on an incline, and it was probably just pouring out the back here and then kind of pooling back in that area. So anyways guys, hopefully this video was useful with regards to troubleshooting the potential issues with oil leaking onto your deck on your mower. So if you like the video, please go ahead and show me a little love, smash the like button down below, and if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. That really helps me out on the channel. Until our next project, take care.